Hello and welcome to our virtual Lunch and Learn. Today we're talking about the Rockwell Panelview Evolution, past and present. My name is Rachel Green and I'm the Digital Communications Specialist here at McNaughton-McKay Electric Company. And presenting for us today will be Stuart Newton, Systems Engineer out of our Savannah, Georgia location. Out in the comments section, ready to answer your questions, is Dennis Youngman, Systems Engineer out of our Wilmington, North Carolina location. We'll also have a Q&A portion at the end for Stuart to answer your questions in more depth. And we'll be getting started shortly. We'd just like to allow a few moments for attendees to join us here. As you come in, let us know where you're joining us from. I see Terry is with us from Defiance, Ohio. Thanks for joining, Terry. You can view recordings of previous virtual Lunch and Learns on our YouTube channel under the Virtual Lunch and Learn playlist. And we cover a new topic every Wednesday at noon, so be sure to join us in the future. For anyone just coming in, welcome to our virtual Lunch and Learn, the Rockwell Panelview Evolution, past and present. Let us know where you're joining us from. We'll be looking for your questions as you have them in the comments, while our presenter, Stuart, gives us a complete timeline review of the Rockwell Panelview, as well as technical differences and migration options for you to consider. Our specialist, Dennis, is ready to respond to your questions in the comments as we go along, and we'll have a Q&A segment at the end of Stuart's presentation. If you'd like to reach out afterward, or if you have further questions for Stuart, you can send us an email at the email address there on your screen, macandmaclive@mc-mc.com. Be sure to let us know which session you attended if you do reach out by email, and we'll direct your questions to Stuart. We'll have that email address on the screen at the end of the presentation for you as well. All right, it looks like we have a number of attendees with us, so I will pass it over to you now, Stuart.
All right, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This week's presentation is going to include a trip down memory lane. We're going to review the history of some of the different generations of the Rockwell Panelview. And hopefully as we progress, we'll cover some of the migration possibilities and challenges. The first slide includes a short video clip that puts a timeline to the release of the different Rockwell Panelviews. Okay, so I hope you managed to capture some of the information on there. It's a pretty quick run through. So this next slide really is designed to give us a still look at that timeline. And here we see 30 years past and present of the Rockwell Panelview. So I'm going to shift a little bit from left to right, progressing through history as we go. as this slide suggests, obviously this thing started in the late 80s as a need to replace ready type panels or push button stations, the need for some kind of graphical interface to connect to PLCs of the time, which of course would have been SLICs, PLC5s, PLC2s, for those of you who can remember. So here we see the PanelView Classic. It ran on a proprietary OS, and the software was called Panel Builder, and that actually ran on DOS. So that gives you some indications to how far back we're going. It was purely a DOS software supported product. And then as we can see, the next shift is into the mid-90s. Still, the PanelView ran on a proprietary OS. It was called the PanelView Enhanced. Came out in a couple of different sizes, the 1000, 10-inch, 1200 and 1400. There was a re-release of software that was known as the Panel Builder 1400E. And this did find itself onto a Windows platform. It's one of the earlier Windows releases, 3.0. Shortly after that, we see the introduction of what is known as the PanelView standard. Again, still the hardware running on a proprietary OS, nothing opened up at this point. And we got another software product, Panel Builder 32, and this would run on Windows 95 or NT. And there's a step change. Early 2000s, we went to the PanelView Plus, and this did find itself on a Windows CE platform. If you remember around that timeline, UPS, FedEx were all getting the little mobile views. So this is where Windows CE platform really took off, and Rockwell leveraged that and shifted across onto that OS. And with that was a significant change in the software, the programming software. We shifted to FactoryTalk View Studio, and that ran on Windows 2000 up through XP. In 2004, to supplement the PanelView Plus, we came out with a PanelView Plus component class, which was basically more of the same, just a smaller form factor. I think it was 4 and 6-inch grayscale and color. So I'm kind of bundling those two together as that generation of PanelView Plus. And that takes us up to around 2010, where the PanelView Plus 6 was released. This sat on a later version of Windows CE 6.0 and was programmed with Windows XP through to Windows 2010, which obviously today is preferred MS. Microsoft our Windows operating system. Then in 2014, the PanelView Plus 7 was released, very similar to the 6, just some additional functions and features, and that is the current PanelView Plus platform of today. Software-wise, it ran FactoryTalk View, Software ME, just version releases, as the slide suggests there, you know, V6 through to V12 on the PanelView Plus 6 and Plus 7. And then quite recently, we saw the introduction of the PanelView 5000. This sits on a Linux OS and uses Studio 5000 View Designer software, and was specifically released to work with the ControlLogic's compact family of products. So these are the two premier type products still available. And I put on there 2021, shortly to be released, or soon to be released, is going to be the PanelView Plus 7 Series B, which is a performance version of the PanelView Plus 7. That's going to sit on a Windows 10 IoT OS, and that will be the future for those guys. So with that said, that's a quick look at the generation from, I guess, the late 80s to current day. Quite a number of panel views and generations and releases and combinations. So I'm going to proceed through and talk about migration opportunities and some considerations. Right at the beginning here, this is just an example of the PanelView standard and the PanelView Plus migration opportunities. It was a huge consideration for us at the time, and it was quite an easy migration. And I'm going to go ahead and say also the PanelView Plus 6 options to migrate from the PanelView Pluses, very, very similar as far as availability to migrate. I'm just going to read down some of the high points here. It was a physical drop-in replacement. So the PanelView Plus would drop straight in for the old PanelView standard, and similarly the PanelView Plus 6 would drop straight in for the PanelView Plus. So no real mechanical considerations. All those versions also supported the networks at the time, so DH45, DH Plus, DF1, ControlNet, all the way from the PanelView standard to the PanelView Plus 6, they were fully supported. As the graphic suggests there, as I'm sure you're aware, the PanelView Plus 6 had the primary display, the logic module, and then the optional comms module. So it was fully functional for all the various legacy networks. The software conversion options were quite good. Even back then, we could convert a Panel Builder 32 application over into a FactoryTalk View Studio version. So again, ease of migration. There were no display screen limits to talk of, obviously just a limitation of memory, but obviously we were talking kilobytes in the old guys and megabytes in the new guys, so not really limitation there. But there were also a number of power supply options became available, 120 or 24 volts across the family. There were more sizes, physical sizes, so from 4-inch all the way up to 15-inch, and then the different combinations of push button and touch screen. So all the way up through the PanelView Plus 6, really, the migration and options just continually improved and made movement quite straightforward. And obviously in the PanelView Plus and the Plus 6, capabilities were increased, obviously leveraging the Microsoft CE OS. So ActiveX, Word, Excel, those kind of things, JPEGs were all usable in the PanelView Plus and PanelView Plus 6 at the time. Okay, so here's the bad news. The PanelView Plus 6 is going to be discontinued later this year. So all the flexibility, migration I touched on earlier, really somewhat goes away with the PanelView Plus 6. It was originally slated to be discontinued late last year, but it got extended through late this year. But I don't think we're going to get that luxury again of it being pushed back. I think it's a hard stop for the PanelView Plus 6 this year. And we've already seen some commercial changes. The cost structure is drifting up compared to the PanelView Plus 7 or the PanelView 5000. So there's a definite shift to get us into something a little newer. So here, just trying to highlight what that means to us. The door modifications, the PanelView Plus 7 is not a straight replacement, so there's likely a need for some adapter plates. They are available on certain sizes, and that's a Rockwell product, so some of that pain is taken away. The next one really is the network capabilities. The PanelView Plus 6, as I said earlier, would support most of the legacy networks, and obviously with that being discontinued, that's going to go away. So we're left pretty much with an Ethernet only solution. So that may impact some applications if you connect into an older Slake or even a PLC5 on some of the older networks. There's also some changes in the hardware as far as options and availability. I know the high bright screen was very popular on the PanelView 6 for outdoor applications. That's going to be no longer available. However, the technology has improved significantly, so the high resolution should help with those outdoor applications. There's going to be fewer size, power, function options available. So we're looking to consolidate some catalog numbers, and that means reduced options when it comes to those factors, the size, power, and function. The function being the touch screen and keypad. So in summary, after the PanelView Plus 6, there are going to be some migration challenges and considerations, and that's pretty much case by case. Okay, so what does replace it? Surprise, surprise, the PanelView Plus 7. And obviously this guy's been around a while. As we saw earlier on the chart, the arrival of this thing was 2010, 14, something like that. So it's been around a while now. And I'm sure most folks are aware it comes in two different flavors, standard and professional. I'm not going to go through all the highlights and the comparisons there, but suffice to say there are the two. There are limitations on the standard as far as functionality, number of screens to develop, the number of controllers connected to, as opposed to the performance, which is slightly more scope and range. Both of them have either single or dual Ethernet ports, so that means there's no serial port, you know, for older communications, and there's no ability to add on comms module. It's Ethernet only. That's all it comes with. The software, Studio, PanelView Studio for ME version 10 and onwards, the conversion tool is improved. You know, so if we're looking to convert some older PanelView standards, the PB32, or some older versions of the PanelView Plus and PanelView Plus 6, there's some nicer tools to convert most applications now to the newer generation. And obviously, with it being new, it comes available with high definition, the wide aspect ratio, of the modern look and feel compared to some of the older platforms. One thing worth noting, though, it still does come with the Windows CE OS. So there's good news, bad news. It's Windows, take it or leave it, good news, bad news, but it does come with all the Microsoft functions and features. So, you know, again, ActiveX, Excel, Word, those kind of things. So it's a fully functioning PC, effectively. Okay, this next slide is another short video, really introducing the PanelView 5000. Let me play this for us. All right, so again, quite a lot of information in a relatively brief time. And I'm just going to refer back to that original history of these things. This guy's been around since around 2016, and really was introduced to migrate really tightly with the Logix platform of processors. Again, a lot of detail here. I'm going to skip to some high spots between the two. The PanelView 5310 and the 5510. This, if you imagine, really in the PanelView plus 7 world, would be the standard versus performance. The 5310 has got limited functions and features, still quite powerful, but limited to processor connections, screen developments, and alarms and those things. Whereas the 5510 is limited by pretty much by memory only. Size-wise, availability similar, but that's the real major difference between the two is the size of application. So what does that mean to us from a migration standpoint? Well, unfortunately, this guy really will not migrate very well with anything previously. It will physically drop in and replace some of the PanelView plus 7s, but certainly not the earlier generation of 6 and went further back. From a software standpoint and conversion, currently there's no FactoryTalk View Studio utility conversion. So again, replacing from a PanelView Plus, 6, 7, whatever flavors, a little bit tricky. Probably somewhat of a rewrite rather than an easy button. So there's some low spots, but some high spots are this guy does really integrate very, very well with the Logix processor. There's a lot of things that are pre-configured just by simply assigning it to a processor. You know, so diagnostics, performance, network, those kind of things are developed for you without any custom code. Moving on here, we talk about scalable graphics. This is really cool. If you grow from an application size, you know, from a 6-7 inch up to a 15 inch, the vector graphics automatically are transferred without any text compression or ugly graphics. Been boasted in the past as possible, but it really is now with this guy. It doesn't matter what size application software was originally written for, it can be deployed across the different sizes. It also supports automatically the tag-based alarms and events. So again, this thing by itself will go into the processor, pick out the tags with associated alarms and events, and populate alarm and event menus. So that's a pretty cool feature too. And one thing at the bottom there, you know, we lose the Microsoft CE platform. For better or for worse, Microsoft is not involved with this product, and really the reliance of CEs goes away. So we've got a full range of development going ahead. Okay, well, I wanted to throw this one in there. Obviously, this is not the premier integration PanelView offering that Rockwell have at this minute, but this is the component class. It's the PanelView 800. It's part of the portfolio, and it's got a place. Smaller applications, smaller, you know, isolated control applications would be perfect. It's programmed using the CCW software, the component class workbench, CCW, something like that. And it's a good option, you know, for migrating from some of the older component class or some of the older standard PanelViews. It will support DF1 and DH485 through the serial comms. So there are some smaller applications out there. We've got some old Micrologix 1000s, 1400s, some smaller slicks where this guy will be a good replacer for the old PanelView standard. And just as a side note here, it will also work with the CompactLogix L1 through L3 processors. So threw this guy in there just for completeness. Again, it's not for the larger applications, but it's got a good purpose. And it's good, available now and will be available later. This last slide, a lot of eye candy here, but this is just an example, an extract from a document. I don't know if you can see in the bottom left, but that's the document number. And this is a quick lookup guide, if you like, of the current available PanelViews and what they will and will not do. This is a good reference guide. I use it all the time from a function features standpoint. We got the on the right hand side, the PanelView Plus 6s, which we know are end of life. So next year, perhaps those won't be there. But then we've got the remaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 live products. And again, there's more to this selection guide than you see there. It's a couple of pages long, so it's a good quick reference if you want to know what fits where with the family. And that, I believe, kind of concludes the presentation. I don't know if there are any questions out there we could address.
Yes, we do have a question. Thank you, Stuart. We have a question from Tim Hampson. He wants to know why would someone select a 5310 over the PanelView 7? Is there some advantage of the 5310 over the PanelView 7 besides being able to program it in Studio 5000?
It's a great question, and it takes some thought to answer it accurately, and perhaps a bit more information to be able to answer it accurately. But typically, how I would respond to that one is, those are two concurrent available products. The 5310 is designed specifically to integrate very tightly with control logics or compact logics. Again, as I mentioned there, the diagnostics of the processor and the network are all pre-configured. So it's a very tight solution when it comes to the newer processors. If it's not from that family, then it may have to be more of a PanelView 7, PanelView Plus 7 type option, given the network and the type of controller. Again, the 5000 is developed, for the 5000 Studio suite of products. It's a very kind of fluffy answer there. I hope that's enough, because we could talk days about the differences of the two, and perhaps got an email address I could have a chat or send some more information regarding that question.
Great, absolutely. We have another question from Mark Huffman regarding a link to the selection guide. Mark, we can make that link available in the description of this video. Or if you'd like to reach out at the email address, I'm sure we can get you some more specific information.
Yeah, and also it's probably gone now, but let me see if I can go back up. The document number in the lower left, it is still good. So if you Google that, whatever your preferred search engine is, you should get a hit and find that document. And again, I would recommend it. It's a useful, quick reference.
That's great. Awesome. We do have another question from earlier. Terry was asking, what is your understanding of when and if the PanelView Plus 7 will go away? Dennis did respond that Rockwell has not given an indication, and that they ported the OS to Windows 10 in order to extend the life as long as possible, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to add anything.
So it's another great question. Thanks, Dennis, for trying to answer that. There's obviously a good commitment to the PanelView Plus 7, and I can't remember the date. It was into the mid-20s, so I'm thinking 2025 or something. There's a commitment with that product, and the fact that we're going to that Windows 10 IoT platform. There's a lot of work that goes into that, so I can't imagine that's going to be abandoned anytime soon. We may, this is just purely speculation, we may see the standard disappear in the future and then stick with the performance PanelView Plus 7 on that new OS. But that is just my speculation, no official word at all. But the PanelView Plus 7 is going to be around probably at least the next 5 years, I would say, and beyond, likely.
Okay, great. That's good information. We have one other question that Dennis also answered about if the PanelView Plus 6 is in mature status. Dennis did confirm that it was active mature.
And actually end of life now. We do have a date for that. So it's a step further down the line, as it were. So I think it's summer this year, there's a discontinuation date being assigned. So by now.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, well, we don't have any follow-up questions that I'm seeing at this time. I'll give just a couple minutes here for anyone that does have any questions before we sign off. And while we wait to see if anyone does have questions for you, I'd like to remind you that you can always watch recordings of previous virtual Lunch and Learns, and that this Lunch and Learn will be available as a recording on our YouTube channel. under the Virtual Lunch and Learn playlist. We do have one more question. Are message databases available in the PanelView 5000 series?
Could you repeat that question, sorry?
Sure. Are message databases available in the PanelView 5000 series?
I'm not quite sure what it means by message database. I mean, there's obviously a tag database, you know, for historical trending purposes.
Okay. If you want to, the username is CoasterBP. If you want to reach out at the email address, Stuart, if you want to go back to that slide so we can have that up, definitely encourage you to reach out and we can maybe dive into that question a bit more.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Well, we'll just give a couple minutes here if anyone does have follow-up questions. Thank you to everyone for joining us today, and to Dennis for being our resource out in the comments section for these questions as they come through. I want to remind everyone to subscribe to the McNaughton-McKay YouTube channel for more industry content like this, and that we do these virtual lunch and learns every Wednesday at noon, so you can join us on your lunch break going forward. And we'll just give one more moment here. All right, again, just to remind you to please reach out at the email address, macandmaclive@mc-mc.com, if you have further questions for Stuart, or if we were unable to answer your question fully in today's series. Just reach out there and let us know which session you attended, and we'll direct your email to Stuart directly. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today, and thank you, Stuart, for a very informative session. And thank you again to Dennis for being our resource in the comment section. Have a wonderful day, everyone. We'll see you next week.